Here's a few important things to understand about dry fire. First off, dry fire should be used to replicate issues you're seeing in live fire, whether it's training or matches. I'll give you some examples. For example, if you are, every time you shoot it, especially close targets, the bullets just go everywhere. Looks like a shotgun pattern. And you're not really finding like the very, very center of the target. Well, the cause from that is probably not drawing your eyes to the center you want to hit and instead looking at this shape, looking at the entire brown target. So in dry fire, your training, you should be able to work on that, where you bring the gun over and it really stops dead center exactly where you want the bullets to go. Another thing that could happen, maybe close, fast shooting, you really have an issue with tension. Either your shoulders come up, head goes down, maybe too much firing hand pressure where you don't, sometimes you can't release the trigger, you get trigger freeze. That's a thing that can happen. You should be able to work on that in dry fire. I know I'm not, well, not much of, not one at all, as far as motivational speaking, but you should be perpetually dissatisfied with your dry fire. And if you're not, you're probably doing it wrong. Some examples, going back to using that target transition example, if I bring the gun over and it stops down here, as opposed to being like, oh, still an alpha, like, it looks pretty good. But dang it, I meant to look for the very center where the perforated letter A would be, and instead it was a little bit low. Maybe it was a little bit right, a little bit left. I aimed the target longer than I needed to. I aimed at the target too long. I pulled my eyes off the target while I was still shooting it. As opposed to being those, it wasn't so bad, it was good enough. If you perpetually are dissatisfied, if you continue to nitpick yourself about all the little things you wish were different, you will actually make a change because it annoys you and you'll make the effort to change it. Along the lines of changing things, what does it take to actually make a habit or make something permanent? Right now, where you sit, you have habits, the way you do things, the way you, that you don't have to think about. For example, if I go to the garage, get in my car, well, if your car is a proper car, you have 3 pedals. I just sit down in the car, seatbelt goes on while I push in the clutch, press a button, the car starts. I don't have to think through that process of where's the seatbelt? Okay, got it. Yep, there's the clutch. Push that one in. Okay, you get the idea. I don't have to think through that. Done it so many times, it just happens on autopilot. It's not something I have to give conscious thought to throughout the process. When you want to make a change to your shooting, you'll make that constant thought, or you'll be paying close attention to the thing you want to change. After a few weeks, it'll just become a habit. Think about, well, all right, I'll be real. I was terrible about wearing a seatbelt for years. I don't know. It was an inconvenience. I didn't want to do it. Maybe I'm stubborn. And my friend John was like, hey, this really bothers me that you don't wear a seatbelt. I care about you. I don't want something bad to happen to you. You should wear a seatbelt. So I'm like, yeah, all right, John, I guess so. Only because I like you. And so I start wearing a seatbelt. Maybe because I guess I want to stay alive longer. Anyway, after a week of every time I get in the car, now I no longer think about that. That's just the way it is. But I did have to actually think about it, or I'd be like backing out of my garage, like, oh yeah, I should put on a seatbelt, I guess. You get the idea. After doing it a few times, or a little bit, it just becomes a habit. For your dry fire training, I would recommend doing more sustained or more practice sessions compared to just one long practice session. So an 8-hour dry fire extravaganza on Sunday is not going to be as beneficial as a 30-minute session every day or a 15 or 20-minute session every day. Again, having that familiarity, just doing those tasks day after day, that's the way to make a change in your shooting. If you do some technique change you want to have or something you want to be better at, within a couple weeks, you should notice a noticeable improvement. Or you'll get to the point where you start to, you've built a new habit. And once you build that habit, when you go to the range, you can check yourself before you wreck yourself. And you'll get feedback from maybe you got better, maybe you got worse, maybe something else broke or changed. Then after that, you can take that back to dry fire, work on that in dry fire. Again, replicating the issues you're seeing on the range, and then just keep bouncing back and forth. So it's never a process where you're really happy with it or you're really done. It's a constant work in progress. Anyway, hopefully those things make sense as far as what your dry fire should look like, how you should assess your results, and how to make a change.